Test, 1, 2.
I got you, brother. It's I don't hear an echo this time, so I think you're good.
Perfect, man. Perfect. Yeah, like you mentioned, right? No Twitter space without any problems.
It's a rule, man. You have to you have to have the problems. It's just part of the game. I don't know why it's so difficult on Twitter, man. Every other platform works just fine, but this one, I don't know what it is. Every week, it's always something.
Yeah, I think if Chaz was here, he could actually sing a song about that. It's crazy. Have you actually seen like I really love the footage that we get from NFT NYC, like from Maria and Chaz. It's great, right?
Yeah, for sure. I was definitely feeling a little left out, man, because I had initially planned to go, and then with everything that was going on, I decided at the last minute that I wasn't going to go. But now that I'm seeing, of course, everything that they're doing, I'm having a little FOMO, wishing that I was there, you know. So it's been definitely cool to see them putting out a lot of content. But what's been really awesome, I think, is just seeing real people connect in the world, you know, because obviously on Twitter, I think one of the things that's so strange to Twitter, you know, or on Twitter for me, especially in this space, is just the anonymity. So to see people getting together in real life and creating real relationships, that's super valuable. I'm seeing more and more of it. You know, more and more people are, you know, like showing who they really are, and you know, they're not really hiding, but seeing people engage in real relationships, man, that's where it's at. You know, and when we talk about community, it's very difficult for me to sort of separate this idea of, you know, what community really is, with, you know, like the community of pseudonyms or the community of anonymous people, right? Like it doesn't really make sense. Like, how do you have community with a pseudonym? It doesn't make sense. So seeing everybody connect was really cool, man, and I hope that continues. I hope that trend continues to go, and I'm super stoked that we can be a part of it and have some good people there. So yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, maybe we can see the Goodfellas next year there showing some stuff. And I really
Definitely.
envy Chaz because he has that One Love DAO and he's meeting so many people for the first time in reality, face to face, and I feel very happy for him.
Yeah, he's been building that group for a long time, and I mean, I don't know if you guys have been following, you know, some of the conversations. But I mean, these guys will get on the spaces and they'll just stay on spaces for like 12 hours. They'll just be there all day, all night. And then, you know, somebody will get tired and somebody else will take over and they'll just keep going. I mean, it's just amazing the amount of time and investment that they've put into just building, you know, what they've built. And I think it's a testament to everyone who's in the world, you know, building anything. Like anything that you want to build that's great is going to take longer than you think it's going to take. It's going to be harder than you think it's going to take, and it's going to require a tremendous amount of sacrifice. And you know, that's one of the reasons that, you know, Goodfellas is going to do well, because we understand that, and we're going to continue to put in the work. And you see it in things like the group that Chad's has built. And so, you know, it's always good and always stoked. And I love sending positive vibes out to people who are doing the damn thing, you know, just doing the thing. Like nothing is doing the thing but doing the thing, right? So it's just having a massive respect and love for people who are doing the work, and you know, really doing their best to bring good things to life. I just love seeing it, man. It's fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it almost feels a little weird and unreal not to see him live when I check Twitter. It's crazy and definitely one of my lifetime goals to listen to one of the spaces from the beginning to the end. Yeah, maybe one day when I have 2 days off, I'll do it. Um, yeah, what's been going on? I mean, what's up with the Solana? In the beginning of the week, I felt like it was like maybe the wormhole airdrop that caused the congestion. I think you got some, right? And yeah, but like the recent days, I think a lot of people witnessed it with the artist incubator drop. Transactions took years, and when I tried to send an NFT today, it took multiple times, and I actually went through Twitter and trying to see, hey, is Solana down? Trying to find some tweets. Didn't really find an explanation. Do you have more information on that?
Not really. I'm not really convinced it was the drops. I don't think that that's what's going on. I think there's just a general network congestion thing happening right now, and I think a lot of that has to do with We saw this massive run up from, like the 90s to 200, and then open over 200. And then you had people coming all the way back down to like the 170s, and then back up to 200 again. And then now we're back down to the 180, 170. I think it's just a lot of people sending transactions through the network, both NFT wise, meme coin wise, and in the NFT market. So I think it's just everything taken together. I don't think the support of the network has grown as much as the desire for people to be on it. And this is just my opinion. I haven't really supported this with fact yet, or just looking around and looking things up. But I mean, transaction volume across the board, regardless of chain, has been pretty crazy. Bitcoin was a classic example. ETH has been pretty high. Like they're all just going crazy right now. Even Bitcoin Cash, which is like this sort of obscure fork of Bitcoin, actually the first chain I ever minted an NFT on years ago, is up like 60% just in the last week or so. I mean, so you have all these obscure chains plus all the majors, plus new people coming to the market. Lots of confusion. I think people are doing extra transactions where they don't need to, and the RPC servers are just overwhelmed. The RPC servers getting in and out of staking, for example, has been pretty crazy. When I was writing some code and having to access RPC servers to update the Soul Rockers data to pull that in, I mean, you're talking about a collection of, I think it was started with between 7 and 8,000 pieces, and just running updates on 7 to 8,000 pieces, like textual updates. We're not talking about images or anything like that. It took me like 12 or 13 hours to get them all done with 50% failure rate. So basically, the system was updating metadata and then kicking out this long list of failures, and then I have to rerun the failures, and then we'd kick out 50% of those, and basically just had to keep doing that until there were no failures. And so I think just all of that stuff taken together, happening all at the same time, coupled with more mainstream interest, is really what's happening. And the RPC servers just weren't ready for it. So we'll see what happens. I think probably more and more RPC servers will come online and help that, more validators. But the problem with the validators is it's really expensive to run one. The code and the setup is not easy, and the machines themselves have to be, like super duper, crazy expensive machines generally, to make it worthwhile, because obviously if you're not processing transactions, you're not getting paid. But if you're staking Solana, that's where your staking rewards are coming from, processing transactions. So if you can't afford to get a good machine up, which a lot of people can't afford to throw $3,000 or $4,000 at an RPC server, it's just not going to happen. So they have to encourage more people to get online that way, and it just hasn't happened yet. So we'll see what comes online in the future. I know there's a speed update planned. I think it's called Fire Dancer, I believe. It's going to do something like double or triple Solana throughput, which is going to be amazing. But it hasn't been released yet, and I don't think there's a hard date for the drop. So I can check the website and see. But when Fire Dancer comes out, that might change the speed at which some of this stuff happens, and maybe reduce the need for more RPCs. But we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, definitely. I've read a lot about that Fire Dancer update coming out. Like you mentioned, there is no date yet, but yeah, definitely hope that the network solves these problems in the near future. I actually read from some guy in the comments today that he was like mad about not being able to trade meme coins, which was quite funny because he was actually mad about not losing money. But yeah, what's interesting is that the current mood in the space is actually pretty bad right now because people are very concerned about the dip, and considering that we've been, I think, when the ETF news announced back then, or when the ETF was went live, we went to, I think, below 40,000, right? 39 or something like that, which was like only 12 weeks ago, and now we are somewhere around 65, which is crazy, and people are still like, oh, it's a dip, like the bull run is over, and that's sick, right?
Yeah, I mean, this kind of touches on what we talked about before. I mean, like if you're in the market to collect, that's a different mindset from being in the market to build which is a different mindset from being in the market to trade NFTs, which is a different mindset from being in the market to trade meme coins, right? And so for me, like if you've been in any market for any length of time, I mean, especially like NFTs, everything comes and goes in short order, and this is a good thing. I think people forget this. Like if you're of the mindset that you just want to make money, like that's why you're here, then volatility is your best friend. Like you want as much volatility as possible. The market's going to rise and fall, and if you learn how to recognize the patterns, then you trade the patterns. You trade opposite the major mindset, and then that's how you make money. It's just like when Solana went over 200. I sold my Solana, or at least I sold a big portion of it. It drops down to 160 or 170. I rebuy it. So now I just multiplied my Solana holdings. I ride it back up, do the same thing over and over again, right? So, like, if you just understand that volatility is your friend, you can ride the waves and actually do quite well. But for me, like with the NFT market and the artwork market, I'm a collector and I'm holding long term and I'm looking for high quality pieces that are going to be in my wallet for pretty much ever. I mean, unless something, magic happens and or if something really crazy happens and I decide to sell something, I'm looking to acquire these pieces because I recognize where we are in the like in the curve, in the S curve of adoption. We still haven't even started yet. And so like the value is really going to come years down the road when more and more mainstream people are here, and the early NFTs are going to be the ones people want. And the projects who've stayed in it long term, regardless of hype and horseshit, but built through all markets, those are going to be the projects that matter. And so for me, that's what I'm looking at. And so I don't really care about that from an NFT perspective. Now, if I'm a meme coiner and I can't make my transactions on Solana or Polygon or ETH or whatever, that's frustrating because, at the end of the day, you know, not being able to make the transaction might prevent you from buying, but it also prevents you from selling if you're in, right? So if you're trying to trade a market and that market's moving and you're at a peak and it's a meme coin and 5 minutes from now it's going to drop, 20% value, you really need to get off that coin and back into, something stable. And so with all these airdrops, I've noticed it's very difficult for me to convert a lot of these shit coins to something that matters, like Sol or USD or whatever. We did get the wormhole drop, but I got it through DGods. So I still hold like three DGods, and we got wormhole early because of some partnership that they had. And so we got it well before everyone else. And even with that going into to do a swap after that drop, before the market went crazy, it was still very difficult. I think I had like 3 or 4 failed transactions just on that. And so that might symbolize network trouble, but it also might symbolize liquidity issues. There just may not be enough people who want, to get rid of a quality token and trade it for a shitcoin. And I think the more people get burned, the more that's going to become the mentality. And so, I think you just have to be really careful and understand why you're doing what you're doing. If you're playing in the shitcoin casino, I mean, chances are you're going to lose. That's why it exists, and that's why so few people do well there. But if you're playing for the long term and maybe you're swing trading, kind of like what I've been doing with Solana, you can win. Excuse me, you can win. But just going to depend on ultimately on your goals and what you want to do and who you want to surround yourself with. And I just think a lot of people haven't really figured out what that is for themselves.
One thing I can assure you is that meme coiners definitely find a way to lose money. I think I read from many people that they just like go to any other chain, and I feel like every chain is providing any kind of meme coin, so they definitely find a way. You mentioned you got the wormhole airdrop. If I had to guess, you don't hold, right? You probably already swapped it to Solana or something.
I never hold shitcoins, man. I immediately convert them to something that's going to be around.
I love that because do you actually go into the projects? Like, do you dive deep and see what
Nope.
they do? And nothing, right? You just swap it and to Bitcoin or Solana, right?
No, I don't care what they're doing because they're not doing anything new. And so this is the thing, right? When someone's doing something new, it matters that you understand the project. Like, I haven't gone into the Soul Rockers Discord yet and made a formal announcement of our acquisition. And the reason I haven't done that is because our project is very, very different from Solana projects. Like, we do not do the typical Solana pump and dump, hype and horseshit stuff. And we're actually looking for quality holders and people who want to be here a while. And we're trying to create whales who can steer the project. So if I go in there and just say, hey, we bought you guys and, come join us, they're going to come into the server and they're not really going to understand what's happening because it's so different, right? But they need to have that information. So when I look at these drops like Wormhole, or I can't even remember what some of the most recent ones were, but it's always like a DEX, or it's like some sort of bridge or something that's already been done by 15 other different companies. And it doesn't really matter that the technology is different, because from an end user perspective, like, all you care about as an end user is, does it work? Right? You don't understand the beauty of the code, or like the philosophy behind the code. You just want to know, does it work for me? And so when I look at the highest level and the consumer level, and I say, was the consumer going to look at this and say, oh, this is very different, it's going to be a game changer? Is the consumer going to look at this and be like, oh, it's just like that thing, does it work better? Well, if that's the answer, then I don't care. If it's something new, then I care a great deal, because then at that point, there's a potential for there to be some sort of gain. But of all of the tokens that have been released, the only person, or the only token that's relatively a new idea, is the Runes idea. And that's really not that different than the standard meme coins, other than the fact that someone found a workaround to do a meme coin that rides on Bitcoin, and the technology is interesting. And so because of that, I took a look at the project a little bit closer, but even when that dropped, I got rid of it immediately. I mean, because at the end of the day, it's just a meme coin. And when the founder is telling you, hey, we don't have any, specific roadmap for this, we don't really have any plans for this, we're just basically riding the wave of entertainment and gambling that's happening in crypto, which is literally what Leonidas said on the Spaces. Then he's basically telling you, hey, have fun with it, enjoy it, it's entertainment, but don't bet the farm on this. So when the founder is telling me that, I'm like, okay, cool, I get it. I'll just convert it to Bitcoin and sleep good at night.
Yeah, that's probably the right way to do it. And when you talked about like the regular Solana projects, you and I, we have actually witnessed a mint that just happened, that we both kind of followed because we know the founder. We are not dropping names here because we do not want to badmouth anyone, but we have seen it again. Like, someone hyping up a mint, making it a free mint. I think he had like 8,000 people in the Discord. They had around 3,000 people having free mints. I think whitelist were about 5,000 people. All were able to mint three pieces, and yeah, it turned out they minted like 2,000 in total. The collection was a lot bigger, and 1,000 was minted by themselves. So they are sitting on a whole collection of a lot of pieces. The Discord community is coming and saying like, hey, cut the collection, do this, do that, and they're in that cycle of a failed project, like
Yeah.
people demanding stuff, and we see that over and over again, and people keep doing it, and I just don't know why, because I think everyone should. I mean, unfortunately, it looks like people in this space do not learn, because I still see these pre-sales going on, and people still spend tons of money on that, and people keep rugging. And I mean, I even see people like rugging and immediately transferring that money to Binance, which is probably not a good thing, because you have to do KYC there, and you're probably people will know who you are. But looks like the founders don't even care, and that's crazy. I'm not sure if people will ever mature in that space, but it kind of hurts to see that over and over again.
Yeah, it hurts a lot. I mean, because not only does it hurt the overall appearance of the NFT market to a potential newcomer, like, it hurts us. Like, we're out in the marketplace, like, I guess we can tell, we can start dropping some alpha. Like, you just signed a contract with a new artist for the next drop, another female, which is fantastic. And these pieces are fucking stunning. Like, I love Maria's work, and this new artist's work is, I love it. Like, just like, I can't even describe, just because it's more my style, my personal style. But like, at the end of the day, it hurts us when we go to the market and we say, hey, listen, we appreciate your artwork and we love what you're doing. Are you willing to do a piece for us? And then they pair that out to, oh, well, I just did this, piece for XYZ, freebie project, and I was supposed to get paid and I didn't get paid. And, then I spent all this time building this beautiful piece of artwork and I got nothing for it. And it just makes it very difficult if you're actually trying to do things the right way. So getting the contracts becomes more difficult, but, just the reputation in the space is damaged. And I think until a lot of people mature in terms of what they want to build and understand it's going to take longer. The days of, just throwing anything against the wall and selling 10,000 pieces, those days are past. So now it's about how do you provide value to the people, to the community, to your buyers, to the people who support you. And that's your first priority. And founders don't really understand that, right? Like they're not coming from a place of having built businesses or organizations, and they don't understand that, money flows to value. So, this is one of the things that we talked about with Maria. We talked about it from a like a Discord standpoint in terms of following, talked about it from a like public standpoint in terms of following. But the truth is you don't need a lot of people. You just need a core group of committed people to really love what you're doing. And I think it's very unfortunate that so many people are so weak-willed that they will then do anything and everything to hype and lie and cheat and steal and fill a Discord server with a bunch of people who really don't have any interest in the project whatsoever. But there's a vanity metric, right? Like it's like, oh, we have all these people in our Discord and look how cool we are. And let's, go look in the mirror and congratulate ourselves. Like we have this vanity metric. But then when the rubber hits the road, it's like, okay, well, what's the result of that? Well, we got all these people and less than 10% of them are involved, and less than 10% of that 10% actually meant the project or care about it. Everybody else just wants to flip it. And so when we were talking to Maria, or at least when I was talking to Maria up front, we had this conversation about like following size. And she's like, yeah, I get that too. She's like, there's some days like I don't even want like going into Discord, or if anyone's creating problems in my Discord, I just get rid of them. Like there's no reason to deal with people who are uninterested or people who don't care or people who are bringing negative energy, because at the end of the day, they're not going to be there to support the project. They're not going to be there to support you. They're not there to do anything win-win. It's all take. It's all win-lose. Like I want to win at your expense. And that's really not the way you want to build a community, because that's the antithesis of community, right? So if we can't get to a place where we have win-win relationships and understand that everybody has to win, not just the founders or not just this person or that person, then you can't move forward under this guise of community. It's like this fake sort of vocabulary that people keep throwing out. In fact, it's one of these things I like to say to people when it comes to the community. Everybody keeps talking about community. And community is important, like real community is very, very important. But fake community is just a detriment. And so I like to say sometimes, that you can gauge the success of a project on the number of times they mention the word community in their marketing materials. It's like the success of a project is inversely proportional to the number of times they mention the word community in all their marketing materials, right? Because really what they're trying to do is use a buzzword to bring people in. It's like the people on television that try to sell 6-minute abs, right, for 1997, right? It's like everybody wants abs, so let me just mention abs, right? In this market, it's like everybody wants community, so let me just mention community. But I don't actually have to demonstrate the fact that we're actually caring for one another, or showing community, or sharing or doing anything community related. We just have to throw the word around a lot, and that to me is just very disingenuous. So I think ultimately the market grows out of that as people just learn that it's a marketing ploy. And that's kind of what happened with the project that you're talking about. And unfortunately, people are, myself included, I'm human just like everyone else. I have my faults and my stupidity. And, we're all fallible in some way, shape, or form. And people just continue to fall for the same stuff because, we're all programmed the same way psychologically and have been for thousands of years. But at the end of the day, it changes as people mature and they learn their lessons, right? So it's just going to take enough people getting burned enough times before they realize, okay, well, maybe I need to do something different. And sometimes that happens quickly. Like one of my mentors defines intelligence by your ability to learn and like the rate at which you learn. Like if you get burned once and you learn, okay, you're more intelligent than the person who needs to get burned 4 times to learn, right? And so I think the market gets smarter the more it gets burned. And ultimately we get to that class of person who understands, okay, if we're going to get further, then we need to do things differently. And I mean, that's really, why you and I are here.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned Maria. Let's dive into the bonus drop later. You also mentioned the AI artist, and yeah, let me just drop some information about her. I think I'll have an announcement later this weekend and showing some art that she published. She is actually from Ukraine. I think I mentioned that before. She told me that she studied law. She wanted to become a lawyer and quit that to be an Web3 artist, which is crazy because she's been doing that for 2 years now. But when you guys see what she did so far, she it actually looks like she's been doing that her whole life. So yeah, Jason mentioned it. The art is crazy. I'm really looking forward to share it with you guys so you can see it. And I feel like it's definitely different to what Maria does. I think it's a little more realistic, but great in its own way. And she's creating a series of 4 pieces, and these 4 pieces are going to tell a story actually. Each of these pieces creates its own emotions and everything, and you guys will understand as soon as the pieces will drop. But yeah, Jason, you mentioned it. You've seen what she does. I think I sent you a Drive folder where you could see the art, and yeah, you liked it, right?
Oh, dude, yeah, I love it, man, for sure. For sure. Sorry about that. I was just looking at STC. She posted a comment with two of my favorite pieces, actually. So I was just kind of lost in looking at those. But yeah, the work that she does is fantastic. And it's like I said, it's more along the lines of what I would personally create. So I have a bit more of an affinity toward it. I like Maria's because it's so innocent and cute, right? Like there's this innocence about it. There's this beauty and this sensuality about it, but it's coming from an innocent place. And the other artist's work is more like realistic, like you said, was a great word to describe it. But it's also a little bit more, I would say, from a femininity standpoint, it's a little bit more on the like realism, sexy side, interesting sort of, when you have someone who can look through you, that's her pieces. Like her pieces are like they can look through you. And I really appreciate that. There's a certain truth that comes through in that beauty of the artwork that I've seen so far. So I'm really stoked to dive deeper into her world and learn more about what she's doing.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to that as well. We do not have a time frame yet. She says that she will be finished with the series and providing the art in around 2 weeks. So we'll have to see if we are going to drop it right after Maria's drop, but we'll have to plan around that because there is a halving coming up, and we said that we will have another batchment around that date. And yeah, Jason, maybe you can explain a little bit about that.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously, we are minting our pieces in batches, and we're doing this for a lot of reasons. Not the least of which is we want to be able to control the mints. We want to make sure that the bosses have first access and the ability to become whales inside the project. Because ultimately, the artwork and the IP that we're building and bringing to market is going to be some of the stuff that we're actively using in the real world when we start going to businesses and creating secondary arms of this particular project. And then, of course, we want our bosses to have the greatest advantages when it comes time to token mint, which is the code that I'm going to be working on behind the scenes right now to get that set up. And ultimately, we'll have a whole mint suite that is, like candy machines that we run and candy machines that we run with token mints in both Sol. So that's going to be the next technical obstacle that I'm going to be working on. Obviously, we've got a lot of work to fill in on the website. We've got to onboard the Soul Rockers. We've got the halving coming up. It looks like we're on block 837,862. So 20, just over 2,200 blocks to go before the halving. And the batchment's going to be coming up before month end. We'll have obviously a hard date for everyone, but just to kind of reiterate, on each batchment, you're going to be dropped different ranked pieces, and those pieces are going to be consigliere, underboss, hitman, one of one, and five capos. And then the rest will be soldiers and associates. And then, of course, building a family means that you have all of those pieces. You've got and a boss, of course. And so the greater mission here, if you're collecting, is to build the family, and then we're going to build the families into the arms of the business, and we'll reveal more how that's going to happen as we get closer to that. But obviously, going bit by bit, we have the opportunity to modify the collection as it mints, which is something that wasn't possible in the past. And I think this is one of the reasons we saw, quote unquote artwork upgrades, happening throughout. Whenever a collection ran out of, hype and horse shit, they would say, oh, well, we're going to drop new art. Well, we're dropping new art every time we mint. So you're going to have a fresh one of one. You're going to have fresh traits added, fresh backgrounds. We've got a bunch of people in the community who are artists. And these are people that obviously we want to incorporate. So I'm going to be reaching out to some of them to get fresh backgrounds. I'm asking people if they have particular traits that they'd like to see. If there's someone who wants to draw for us, then we want to get, their particular trait inside the piece, add them to the metadata, give them credit. So there's all kinds of different reasons to have the batchment happen. But one of the coolest things is we just get we just get to continue to evolve the collection over time, which I think is very, very cool. So I'm stoked for that. And obviously, there's a lot of work to do. And then, of course, the other thing too is if you're holding a boss, remember we minted out the remaining Bitcoin bosses. I think there was only like 5 or 6 left. So when fees came down from the crazy highs that they were on Bitcoin, we went ahead and minted those, and we're going to hold those in treasury so that people can, come on board, and we'll make those available to any other boss that wants to grab them or to new bosses coming on board. But basically, now that they're all minted, we now owe each and every boss like a Solana version of that boss. So we've got to get that to you guys. And we owe you guys a Solana version of that boss with an actual face. So we've got artwork that needs to happen for that. We've got technology that needs to happen for that. And then, of course, for the batchment before month end, we've got a lot of artwork that needs to happen for that, along with a lot of technical setup. So, we are we are obviously up to our eyeballs and plenty of work to do, plus marketing, plus onboarding Soul Rockers, plus onboarding another collection, plus doing the bonuses for the AI mints and the 21s. And, we're just going to keep working around the clock until we get that done, and, continue to look for people who can help us with it. Excuse me. Sorry. I haven't been up very long. It was a late night. My voice and my eyes are still not really working very well. But
So
we're stoked to get all that stuff out for you guys. I mean, there's a ton of work to do, ton of things to come. I mean, every time I post an announcement, I keep saying the best is yet to come because it's true. I'm not sitting here trying to hype everyone up and, create some unrealistic expectation. Like literally the best is yet to come, and we're stoked to be here with each and every one of you guys. We love you and appreciate you. So we're going to keep working hard for you and keep building this thing out because, hey, that's why we're here in the first place. So hopefully that answers your question there, Mr. Alex.
definitely, man. I actually also received a message in Discord asking about because we do have that 21 collection as well, which is a collection that is pretty similar to the AI drops. So we got like a piece that is reproduced 21 times and numbered, and we have had we actually have these pieces related to some kind of real life events. I mean, we had like a 9/11 piece, we have had Halloween pieces, and we haven't talked about that yet because basically you are the artist of these. So yeah, do you have any ideas to have another drop on that? Because I feel like there is no real in life event now that is happening. Like I don't know, Christmas is pretty far away, but I felt like we could do some piece for the Bitcoin halving. Maybe that would be a pretty cool idea.
Oh yeah, that's a great idea, actually. Yeah, for sure, I can speak to that. The initial idea was to have 21 limited prints, limited numbered prints, done in our art style for the primary 21s gallery. The AI gallery is basically the same, but in the style of whatever artist we've commissioned. So the idea of the 21 piece holds through. That's obviously in honor of Bitcoin, being that, kind of Bitcoin's kind of like the granddaddy chain. There's 21 million Bitcoin, there's 21 21s, there's a halving every 210,000 blocks, blah, blah, blah. So we're kind of keeping with this multiples of seven slash 21s kind of a thing. And so the next 21s pieces are actually going to be related to Maria's drop. So for those of you guys who missed last week or didn't catch the podcast where we kind of went through this, I'll walk you through it. Give me 2 seconds. Sorry, I'm still waking up. Um, we've got for everyone who has all seven of Maria's pieces, we have a bonus coming your way, and this bonus is going to be a piece done in our style, where Maria actually helped me create traits. Okay, so Maria actually helped me create traits for one of the females in our style. So if you've seen the X23 piece or you've seen a couple of the other females, it's going to be in that style. And we're basically taking her influences. So if you look at her pieces, there's a great deal of anime influence. There's a great deal of Japanese cultural influences in there. There's a great deal of fashion in there as well. And so we're taking her influences, creating the traits. And so the piece that's going to go out as a bonus to you guys will be in the 21s gallery in the style of one of our females. And for those of you guys holding the seven, my goal is to make sure that you get the number that you want. Okay, so not only are we going to bonus you like we did last time, we're also going to try to make sure that you get the numbered piece that you want. So if you're building a collection of sevens or 15s or sixes or whatever your number is, we want to make sure that that finds its way to you. And then, of course, if there's a conflict over a particular number, we'll just go by whoever timestamped it first. We'll drop all that very, very soon. And then as a secondary bonus to that, if you remember from the X23 and the Wolverine drop that we had, where we had this sort of matched pair, where we had the male version and the female version of the similar character from the Marvel universe, which is something else that we celebrated, I'm going to create a male version that matches the female bonus version that you're getting as a result of the AI drop. So we've got the female that Maria helped me do with a lot of the traits that she helped create, and we're going to have a matching male character to that in the male style, so that you have both pieces, and both of those pieces will live inside the 21s gallery. So those will be your next gateway into those pieces or into that collection. And then Alex, I love the idea of doing something to celebrate the halving. We can absolutely do that. And then, of course, for those of you guys who follow the IP world, I don't know if you guys notice this or follow this very closely, but the actual artwork for the original Mickey Mouse, the Steamboat Willie character, the copyright on that expired a few months ago. And because the copyright on that expired a few months ago, that IP is now freely available to the public. So you're seeing a lot of, excuse me, Mickey Mouse stuff going live. You've probably seen a few Mickey Mouse drops or Steamboat Willie drops. The reason for that is because that IP is no longer copyright protected. And so I think it'd be really cool to do a 21 that has like a reference to Steamboat Willie. So there's a lot of really cool things we've got on the docket to come up. And obviously, after the list of things that I sort of laid out to you guys, it's going to be a matter of, just like working through all these different tasks. But as you can see, there's no shortage of work happening behind the scenes. And we're going to make sure that we keep putting out awesome shit for you guys.
Yeah, man, definitely looking forward to all that. I mean, I didn't even know that the Mickey Mouse IP right expired, so everyone is now free to use it or what? Like, is it like dependent on the time it was published, or how is that?
Yeah, there's an expiration to copyright. There's this idea that, IP rights really shouldn't exist. Like a lot of libertarian thinkers think IP rights shouldn't really exist because, once it's put into the public sphere, anyone can duplicate it. And there's all kinds of different arguments you can make for what property actually is. And when you think about it from an ownership standpoint, ownership isn't really having a thing, it's actually your relationship to the thing. And that's a whole philosophical debate for another set of 6 hours. But at the end of the day, the way that they set it up is when the when the when the copyright is issued, it expires after a certain number of years. And I can't remember if it's 75 or 96, or there's some number of years that it expires after the copyright right is granted. And the whole idea behind that is like if you've had, 70 years or 75 years or whatever to develop on that IP, excuse me, and you've done something with it. Well, now you've built so much brand equity. Just like Disney has built so much brand equity in the public. Like no one can ever overtake Disney. Even if, like, if I go out tomorrow and I start a Mickey Mouse company, there's nothing in the world that's going to allow me to overtake Disney. They're the global leader in everything Mickey Mouse, right? And so basically, the idea is that if you haven't done anything with it after a certain number of years, it becomes property of the public, and the public can start running with the idea. And so that's why it exists the way it exists, so that someone can't come up with a good idea and then just sit on it forever, and no one else can do something with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, crazy man. Didn't know that. It's probably some kind of American IP rights law. Didn't know about that. But as most of the famous stuff is coming from there, it's pretty good to know that these kind of IP rights expire and everyone has free access to it. Yeah, it's great. Do we have any other topics for today, or are we good?
I don't think so. I think we kind of ran the gamut. Um, I dropped um, I dropped some. I did start doing a little bit of communication in the Soul Rocker server, so we've got to. This is probably more for you and I to get together on timeline wise, meeting wise. But we did definitely need to go ahead and start onboarding those guys and getting some information out. Um, I think the only other thing we talked about doing was building a section on the website where we could start archiving all the artists that we work with and showcasing their work, and really like building brand equity into the marketplace where people understand that when they work with us, that they're going to be treated fairly and they're going to be treated well. And obviously, bosses, you guys, any fellows and bosses listening to this, either live or in the recorded podcast, like when you guys are out talking to your people, like everybody in the world is looking for a good project to be a part of. And, sometimes it's very difficult to explain what's going on. So we want to give everyone who has people in their circle who they want to, see succeed and be a part of what we're doing or what other people are doing. I want to give you guys as much information, as much access to information as possible. And then, of course, offer up if there are people in your world that you feel would be a good fit for what we're doing. Just feel free to reach out to myself or Alex, and I'll be happy to talk to them for you, because I know a lot of times, reiterating some of this stuff is not the easiest thing to do. But we're going to start building out sections of the website so that everyone has the tools to start helping people, get the information into quality, minds and hands. And I think other than that, I just want to say thanks, and obviously appreciate the support that you guys have shown. I know Maria is in love with you guys for all the support you've shown to her. I mean, a huge portion of Mint funds went to her. So, you've supported her lifestyle and her livelihood by helping her create new art, get to some place like NFT, NYC, and do great things. So, yeah, I just want to say thanks on behalf of her and on behalf of us, and we appreciate you guys.
Definitely, I totally agree. Yeah, so thanks for everyone listening. Check out the website as soon as we have updated it. Check out the Discord. I'll definitely drop some stuff from our upcoming artist, so you can see the work that she has done. And yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us. Hope to see you next week. We'll have the mint on Wednesday. And we really appreciate all of you guys and hope you will have a fantastic weekend. And we'll talk to you next week. Bye bye.